I'm making this video for people that are in a toxic relationship or ever have been, and I'm gonna read you a personal diary entry that I wrote 8 years ago in 2015. I was 16 at the time and in a very toxic relationship. When I wrote this at the time, I obviously didn't know that anyone would ever read this, so it's quite personal. Let me read it to you. 22nd of March 2015. Have you ever been so in love with someone that no matter how many times they hurt you or lie to you, you keep on forgiving? Have you ever been so in love that no matter how many times they fail on you or let you down, you keep on loving them? Have you ever been so in love that no matter how many times they keep doing you wrong, you cannot seem to let go? Have you ever been so in love that no matter how many times they keep on disappointing you, you still want to see the good in them? Have you ever been so in love that even though you know you deserve better, you cannot leave them? Have you ever been so in love that no matter how many times you tell yourself that they are lying, you keep believing them? Have you ever been so in love that even though you know they are never going to change, you keep on trying? Have you ever been so in love that no matter how many tears you shed over them, you can't leave them? Have you ever been so in love that all you wanted to do was leave them so they can't hurt you anymore, but you just couldn't? Have you ever been so in love that you keep on reminding yourself of the good moments you had together, even though the bad ones are overruling? Have you ever been so in love with someone that you'd rather stay with them and be hurt than leave them and completely break into 1,000 pieces? Have you ever been so in love that you just wish that you weren't? 16-year-old me was very poetic, but I'm making this video for the people that are in a toxic relationship. I'm gonna tell you 8 things that I wish I knew at the time, or that I could tell my younger self. So here are 8 things for the people that are in a toxic relationship that you need to hear. First thing is that your relationship is not unique. I remember thinking at the time when I was in that very toxic relationship, and with toxic I mean narcissistic behavior, abuse, whichever kind, manipulation, lying, cheating, and just someone consistently crossing your boundaries and you loving them so much, it's so strong that you can't leave them. The leaving them seemed impossible at the time, because leaving them felt like I would die. It literally felt like I would die if I left them. And the first thing I want to say is that your relationship is not unique. At the time I thought, no one understands, no one gets this, but no one knows how strong this love is that we have. No one knows how good it is. I can't talk about it with anyone because no one knows how deep this is. This is real love. Other people that are in normal relationships, they don't get this depth of the love that we share, because the toxicity comes with very deep lows and very high ups. So I was convinced that my relationship was unique and no one would ever understand because no one had what we had. And I want to tell you, it's not true. It's actually a very classic dynamic between a narcissist and an empath and a toxic relationship to have these great, incredible moments. And yeah, maybe you wouldn't have these incredible highs and incredible lows with a normal, healthy relationship. But you have to see this as a trade of the very high highs come with the very deep lows. And how is it making you feel overall? Are you crying every day? Are you feeling disrespected and manipulated and lied to every day? This is not a unique relationship, and you will be able to find those loving feelings in someone else in a healthy way. Second thing I want to tell to you is that you lost your identity. You don't know who you are anymore. And I remember this feeling so vividly when I was in a very toxic relationship. It's like I didn't know who I was anymore, because he was my identity. He was who I was. He was me and I was him. We were the same person. That's how I felt. And there were so many times where I couldn't distinguish right from wrong anymore, because something so wrong would happen. and then he would lie to me and convince me otherwise. And even though I knew he was lying to me, I had to even convince myself that what he was saying was true, because otherwise I couldn't stay with him. So I was lying to myself, and there were so many times where I just didn't know what was the right thing anymore. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know. I got also manipulated into feeling that I was in the wrong, and I literally didn't know what was the truth. I literally didn't know if I was the problem or he was the problem. I just didn't know, because I was so manipulated at the time that I just lost my own identity. I lost my own truth. I didn't know what was good and bad anymore. I didn't know who I was. I didn't. Third thing is that you bring out the worst in each other. The problem with being in a toxic relationship is that it makes you behave toxic as well, because your buttons get pushed in such a way. It is such an intense toxic relationship that it also brings out the worst in you, which then makes you think, wait, am I part of the problem? Am I the problem? But you have to understand that it is a person that brings out the worst in you. It doesn't make you a bad person for someone to trigger such deep emotions in you that you start to behave in a way that doesn't agree with who you are anymore. So even when you're in a toxic relationship, you start to behave toxic as well. You know, you're dealing with a lot of aggression from another person, so that makes you aggressive and defensive. That doesn't mean that you're the problem. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that someone brings out the worst side in you. And honestly, people that bring out the worst side in you, even when it comes to friends, it doesn't even have to be a relationship, a romantic relationship. When people bring out the worst side in you, you're not meant to be around these people. These people are meant to trigger your soul wounds. These people are trying to trigger a certain healing in you. You're not meant to be around these people if they make you behave in a way that is not true to who you are. If anyone makes you behave in a way that doesn't align with who you think you are, you're not meant to be with that person. Love doesn't work like that. And I remember this feeling. It was like heroin. It's a weird example, but it felt like drugs. It felt like drugs. I could not live without this relationship. I wasn't physically able. It was like a hit. I needed that hit of dopamine. I needed that person in my life. Fourth thing I want to say, it is not normal for someone to tell you what to do. And it took me so long to realize this. Even after my relationship, I was still not fully aware of the fact that it's not normal for someone to tell you what to do. People that respect you, people that value you, do not tell you what to do, because they would want you to be yourself and they would love you for the way you are. No one in your life, no one should tell you what to do, ever, or command you, or try to change who you are. This is not normal behavior. This is not what normal relationship is like. This is not what love is like. Love is accepting. Love is healing. Love is generous. This is a toxic form of love, and it's not the type of love that you want in your life, and it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Fifth thing, you're not dealing with a bad person. This person is just very wounded. A big part of being in a toxic relationship as well is that person you're in a toxic relationship, you love them so much as well, that you don't want to see them as a bad person. And I'm gonna tell you something. They're not a bad person. They're not. You're right. They're not a bad person. They're just incredibly wounded. They have ego problems, that they don't love themselves, that they feel like they need to control someone else. They probably went through their own fair share of trauma, maybe childhood trauma, which makes them very controlling, which makes them behave narcissistic, which this is their definition of love, right? Like they need the control in order to feel the love. So yeah, no, they're not a bad person. They're just incredibly wounded and selfish and egocentric, because they see you as a part of their ego. So you need to adhere to everything they say and do, and everything needs to go in the way that they want, because that is their part of love. And it's not even love. It's more like a craving, a need. They're also trying to fill a gap in their life by controlling you. That comes me to my sixth point. This is not true, genuine love. This is a need. And this type of love, It doesn't come from the soul, it comes from the ego. Because the ego that wants things. And that's why a toxic relationship, I dare to say, is so much intenser than just a normal, healthy, loving relationship. Because it doesn't come from a want, it comes from a need. When you're in a relationship, you feel like you need each other to breathe. You feel like you need each other to be alive. You feel like it's literally, the only way I could compare it is like a drug addiction. You feel like you need that person in your life, and the highs are then like a dopamine hit, and then after that everything shatters again. You have a horrible argument and you completely break down, and then you build each other up again. It's a constant cycle of like having a drug hit, and then you know, the drugs wearing off and having that horrible argument, but then needing that drug again. And the problem with those arguments as well is that when you argue with them, because they are your whole world and they feel like the only person that you can talk to, you almost feel compelled to go back to them because there is nothing else. There is no one else. They are your life. They are everything. And this is, no one should ever be your life. Your world should never revolve around another person. It was not meant, you were not put on this earth to make your life revolve around another person. You just weren't. And that toxic love, it's like a hit of dopamine, a hit of confidence, a hit of feeling valued or feeling reassured or feeling safe. Because you're scared as well. You're scared to be alone, and that person is giving you that safety or giving you that value or giving you that comfort or giving you that love. And I'm not saying that love is not true. Maybe when the good moments are good, it is a genuine true love. I think my toxic relationship definitely was at times. But you're still trying to fill an emptiness with each other. You know, you're filling up each other's wounds, you're triggering each other's wounds. The relationship is about getting something from each other, controlling each other, telling, you know, being told what to do. It is a selfish love. It's not about you, it's about the other person. It's about what they crave and what they need and what they want. And you constantly have to put your opinion aside or swallow your opinion. And even I am quite a feisty person, as in I stand up for myself. Always. I've always done that. And even in this relationship, I did stand up for myself, but that would usually just end up in even worse arguments. So I stopped doing that. And with that, I stopped being myself. I stopped being true to who I am. And the seventh thing I want to say is, yeah, no relationship is always toxic. And this is the most difficult part about that relationship. There are very good moments, and those good moments feel so good, that even though they might be the minority or maybe half of the times, and the other times that you spend together are horrible and you're arguing, it's so good that it seems worth it. It's the same with, like, I think an actual maybe drug addiction, you know, the hit of the drug is so good that it's worth then after that going, even though you know that it will wear off and that you will have that come down effect again, you're just like, it doesn't matter, it's worth it. I need that hit. It's a need, you know, it's a craving. It's not even love. It's not even craving for love. It's not even love. It's just like a craving for value, and the way they make you feel so special. You know, that's the most appealing part that narcissists can do. They make you feel so incredibly special in a way that is probably uncomparable to how anyone else can make you feel. And that's what makes it so addictive, because you become dependent on that. Your whole value, your whole worth starts to depend on that special feeling that they give you, and you can't live without it. I remember feeling like I cannot live without him. I'm saying this in the poem as well a few times. I can't leave him. It just seemed impossible. And it did take me 5 years as well, by the way, guys, to realize all of this, right? 5 years. But I know that you don't want to believe they're a bad person. And again, they're not. And I know that the relationship isn't always bad. But when the bad moments are so bad in terms of emotional abuse, maybe even physical abuse, it's not worth it. It is not worth it. And there is a healthy, constant love that can still make you feel really good. That is healthy. Because love is accepting, love is healing. love contains respect. And there is no respect here. If someone tells you what to do, if someone abuses you, if someone manipulates you, if someone lies to you, there is no respect. And you need to respect yourself to walk away from this. And that is the hardest part. Because if you truly knew your value, you wouldn't allow yourself to be treated like this. And that is easy for me to say now that I'm out of it. But it is the truth. In order to love yourself, you need to leave this relationship. It's eighth thing I want to say, and this is also how I got out of that toxic relationship. Talk to people around you. At the time, I felt like when I was in a toxic relationship, I felt like I didn't have any friends, and that was because I canceled all my friends to be with him. And like, in a way, he also made me do it. Made me not see my friends, and at the same time I also didn't want to be with my friends anymore because he was everything and he was all I ever wanted and made me feel so good most of the times. And I didn't want to talk to people. Why? Because they didn't know him. They didn't understand the great love that we have. I know they would judge me or like tell me to get out of that relationship, and I didn't want to hear it. And I felt like no one would understand. And it doesn't even matter if people understand. It's important that you start to talk about it in order for you to realize how bad it is. And do you really think that all the people around you all have bad intentions or are all delusional and you're the only one that knows the truth? And if you already have the feeling that you can't tell things to other people, you know it's wrong. You know it doesn't align with who you are. If you feel like you can't tell, your parents or your friends about how bad your relationship is, you know it's wrong. Because otherwise you would tell them. So you need to be honest with yourself, and please talk about it with a stranger, someone that doesn't judge you or someone that wouldn't give you, direct advice about what to do. People in your life always have the best interest at heart. And I really, really wish I could talk about it sooner. And to be honest, most of the talking I done after the relationship, because during the relationship, I didn't want anyone to think bad of him as well. And protecting him was more important than talking about my feelings. And the problem with not talking to other people as well is that in the moments of arguments and where it just gets horrible, the only person you can call in that moment is the person that you're in that toxic relationship again. Because you don't have anyone else to talk to, because you don't talk to anyone else about these problems. So then you go to him again or her, and you're back in it. And this can go on a long time and they will never change. This relationship, it won't change. I promise you. I promise you, from the years and years and years of arguing, of crying, of abuse, of, yeah, there were good moments. I'm not saying it was all horrible. When we weren't arguing, it was good, of course, but it's not worth it. It's not those good moments. It's not worth it when you're crying every day. It's not worth it when you're arguing every day. And it's not love. It's not love. And I promise you, there are other people that can make you feel good even better, because they respect you for who you are and they allow you to be who you are. And someone that manipulates you or tries to change you, that is not love. That is selfish. They're doing that from their ego and they're trying to control you. And again, they're not a bad person. They're doing this because of their own wounding. But you need to get out of this. You need to walk away. That was my initial rant about toxic relationship. If this resonates with you, please leave me a comment. Tell me about the situation, or maybe send me a personal message. My email is below as well. And leave a like to this video. Share it with anyone that you feel like might need this, is in a toxic relationship or has been. You're not alone and you can get out of it. And it took the most strength in the world for me to leave that relationship. It literally was the hardest thing I've ever done, and I'm so grateful I did it, because I was only able to be myself again after, and I know it would have never changed or become any better. So I hope this was in any way useful. Again, leave a like and comment if you want to talk, and I'm sending you all my love.